screw you in the drive-thru.
Okay. So we've talked about Skinamarink and what's that dumbass show? The Blair Witch.
Blair Witch.
It's not dumb. Project.
So it is.
It's dumbass to some people.
It is. Okay, but listen to me.
Okay.
All the
Intelligent people.
But
Bazinga.
we were talking about the fact that marketing is what got Skinamarink where it is.
Correct. Same with Blair Witch.
Same with Blair Witch in a way, but see, Blair Witch still had a little bit of a payoff. It was really a movie about nothing.
But he's still correct, because at the end of the day, Blair Witch was, I'm not going to say the first because I can't remember, but Blair Witch was one of the first movies that I remember that had a web presence, that talked about, like, everything about it was all about the found footage.
Yes.
Correct.
Was it's like, we've never seen this before. Oh my God!
It's like not the first found footage.
No, but the first to really be promoted.
But the way it was promoted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
promoted as being true, right? Like
right. Like, it's funny. My wife's mother, who's dead now, rest her soul. She
yada yada yada.
Yeah, it's like
she honestly thought that Blair Witch was real.
Yes.
That this was real found footage that was found.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I mean, and so the point is, like, and that all came out of the marketing campaign.
Correct.
And
Okay.
it was truly, like, it's on a Levi's 501 level of like, what a great job that marketing team did.
I have never heard that analogy before.
Yes,
Levi's 501.
Oh my God, it's
level.
like Levi's jeans. They
Yeah, no, I get it, but I've never heard that analogy.
Oh my God,
That's pretty awesome. Okay, but wait a minute. So, okay,
It's a British
so
thing.
It probably is. Maybe.
Clearly, we all know the first found footage movie, which was way more realistic, and everybody believed it because it was a found footage movie. You know the movie I'm talking about.
Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust. So Cannibal Holocaust was the first found footage movie ever. It was such a... People believed it so much.
The director was arrested.
Yep. Brought into court. The only way he got off of it is he had the actors show up.
That supposedly were killed in the movie.
Yes.
The ones that were killed.
They're here.
Correct.
Which
Correct.
that's where the marketing side of Blair Witch was perfect. They had those people go into hiding, right? And the actors
Did
went
they?
in, yes, they went into hiding. It's like
They're
purposely
following the school. That's what they did in Cannibal Holocaust.
They purposely did that so
it's
that
a
way
Cannibal
then
Holocaust
you
ripoff.
couldn't find them. They were new actors,
It's a
so
Cannibal
they didn't
Holocaust
have
ripoff.
anything prior to that. So then people thought these are legitimate people that we just watched them die. And
Cannibal Holocaust
I
ripoff.
saw so many people, like, that was the one
But
thing.
it's not in Italian. So.
Well, then
Yes.
better.
in the theaters, that's the only time to this day, well, maybe there's one other time, but I'll get to that in a second, where the movie ended and not a word was spoken. Literally, everybody got up and left. And it
agree.
wasn't like...
In Blair Witch?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is,
agree.
nobody, I think it was just because it was one of those what the fuck moments. Like, people were like, did that just actually happen? Wait, did I just watch somebody die? What just happened? And people left. And not people, you know, because I've seen movies where people stand up at the end, oh, fuck that, you know, or whatever, and they yell at the screen or whatever. Literally, everybody was just like, whoa. And I say this because it has not happened since, but during that last probably 5 minutes of that movie, I actually had heart palpitations. Like, my heart literally I was like sweating, and I was like, oh my God, what's that? And I thought, okay, it's the first time I saw it. It still happened the second time, even though I knew what was going to happen. And it's like, I have yet to have that happen. Now, granted, I can watch it now and I'm perfectly fine, but at that time, I left and I sat in my car for like 5 minutes and let my heart now,
Pussy.
Pussy
I
is
guarantee
right.
no,
They
some people,
fucking
and that's what I get all the time.
know.
But now, and that's the thing is, and I want, that's what I think I've been striving for, and I was really hoping for with Skinamarink, was that it was going to do something similar. And
Well, it's not a found footage movie.
well, but
really.
they're treating it kind of in that sense because they're calling it the analog horror, and I'm like, okay, analog horror
in
is
this
just
case just means no budget.
well, that, and it
Right.
also means it's like, oh, it looks like it's on VHS.
Right.
To me, that's how it looks.
Right. But they did that on purpose too. But that's
And I
easy.
get it, but it just did not. It didn't have that, and it didn't resonate like that. But then I think I said in the podcast, like, this guy just by the end of it, I was thinking to myself, "Son of a bitch, that's what everybody felt like with Blair Witch." Like that, like I was like, "Oh my god, I love it," and then everybody else was like, "What the fuck? Well, that was stupid."
Not everybody.
Now, I did have friends who I talked to them about
Back
Blair
then,
Witch.
you had friends.
Back to.
It was a while
actually
ago,
still do.
Before people knew who we were.
I just still do talk to them. Now they watched it and they thought it was stupid. And you know, because I took them to it.
That would have been us.
Now then, I had to explain to them. I said, "Now, do you know that?" You know, because they said, well, "Why did they find the teeth and the tongue and the bandana and stuff?" And the next thing I had to tell them was, that's an old witch's tale that if a witch cuts out your tongue and pulls out your teeth, she can imitate your voice, which is why you hear Josh at the end. And they go, "Oh!" So then the next question I get is, well, why was the guy standing in the corner at the end? Obviously, spoilers, but
if you haven't seen Blair Witch by now, come on.
So then I said, "Well, didn't you hear the lady that was being interviewed during the movie where she says that the Parsons guy used to put the kids in one in the corner while he killed the other one?" And they go, "Oh, I didn't hear that." And then I'm like, "You got to pay attention to movies." So, like, to me, it was like they did just enough subtle stuff in there that it brought me in. And the funny thing was, there were people that legitimately thought it was true. I did enough research on it that I was like, "This can't be true. This is bullshit." You know, like I'm like, "This is not true." And I went into it knowing it wasn't true, and I was still scared of it. Now, the only other time I've ever felt those heart palpitations really is Halloween when I was 8 years old. I watched Halloween 1 and 2 on I think it was on Channel 9. You know, while my parents were out partying.
Even the TV version.
And even the TV, that scared the shit out of me. You know, and that, like, I mean, I was scared. I was, like, huddled in next to my parents' bed and stuff like that. And, you know, that was the only times that I've really felt that, you know. And the only other real time I got close to that was 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later.
That's a drastically different movie.
Correct. But the only reason I got intense was because I hated zombie movies before that. I hated them. I thought they were stupid. I'm like, "Oh, the zombies are walking at you. What are they going to do?" And then that movie flipped it on its head and the zombies ran at you. And that scared the shit out of me because I'm thinking, "Oh, fuck, they can move fast now."
But like 28 Days Later, the scariest part of that movie for me was actually the very, very beginning when the guy wakes up and he comes out of his room and there's no one around.
Yeah.
And he walks out into the street and there's no one around. And he walks across, the bridge and
which by the way is also the whole premise of Walking Dead, where he wakes up in a hospital, comes out and nobody's there, which was also the premise of Raccoon City in the first when she came out of her hospital.
I get it.
Nobody was there.
I get it. But the point is,
somebody's mad.
Just saying.
But again, the point is, like, to me that was actually like more terrifying than I love 28 Days Later. I even like I like 28 Weeks Later as well. And the whole fast zombie thing was cool. It's like, zombie movies in general, I think one of the things that is always most interesting is when you have lead characters or main characters that get bitten. Mm-hmm. And there's always that. There's always that. Exactly. Great movie. So much better than Dead and
Except that Breakfast. Dead and Breakfast is made in America.
Oh God, America.
And has singing.
We do. Let us know. This makes it the best movie ever.
My God.
Let us know if you'd like to hear Warwick and I feud over Dead and Breakfast versus Shaun of the Dead.
Best horror movie. I'm not going to say best horror movie.
No, but it was a great horror movie.
It was a great horror movie.
Oh, and Shaun of the Dead was pretty good too. So anyway, but the point is, we're talking about really the marketing that brings these movies to light, right? Because if you are an influencer or whatever, and you say, "Oh my God, the internet's blowing up over this," when it's not, all of a sudden
it will
the internet's blowing up over it.
You're making it viral,
right?
You're making it
Pun
viral
intended.
By lying.
Viral. Okay.
By lying about it, and which we've talked about this.
We
before.
should do that as a test, just for
I think that'd be a great episode, actually, just talking about how marketing makes the movie.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
Some movies they
and
did
then what
the
we should
marketing
do is
wrong.
market the shit out of our episode.
So
and see what happens.
So the 6 people
How do we
are
do
watching.
that?
Yeah, we'll be like, this is viral,
comments.
and watch
How
how
do we do
quickly it doesn't. It gets 12.
Yeah.
Views.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that marketing is a huge part of it. But I prefer self-marketing, right? Like to me, word of mouth is still the best marketing ever, right? Like that should be.
It always will be, but
that's where word of mouth now
we're
could
in an
also
age
be
of the internet.
could
though.
also be paid for, right?
But here's the point. The point
it
is
always have been paid for. It's
to
always.
exactly the point about, and I don't know when this episode is going to go up, but it's to exactly the
This
point
is
about
behind the scenes, baby.
about Skinamarink.
Yes.
I think word of mouth from that movie would have gone, ooh, would have just died straight off.
Agreed, because when people saw it, they would have been like, wait, this actually sucks.
What the hell was that about?
The whole deal was promoting it so much to get people to watch it for the first time.
That's what I feel like things are with movies nowadays. It's that first, because everybody knows, to use kind of a reference to, Serbian film, they want you to blow your load on the first fucking weekend, right?
Yeah.
If you can get $40 million on your first weekend and it costs $15,000,
right.
It doesn't matter.
Who cares about
Who
your second
cares?
weekend?
You could say
And
this
your third
thing has
weekend.
got everything in it just to get people in the seats.
And I think
I don't like that.
I think
That's
that was
where-
totally Skinamarink. I think
Totally.
that was 100%
Totally.
what they were going for. Was
I
'cause-
want movies that are like the My Big Fat Greek Wedding, right? Where it's like the thing was
That was
it made
horrifying.
like I know that totally turned, but that was like a good promotional thing. Like they didn't market it very well, they didn't do a good job, but then word of mouth, all of a sudden it was like it made 10, 12 million the first weekend, then it was 15, then 20, then 30, and it was in the theaters for like 6 months because people kept going back and seeing it because of word of mouth.
That's also like
And
a
it grew.
Titanic thing.
Well,
Titanic had like
huge
massive budget associated with it.
Agreed, but Titanic had word of mouth because it was a failure
everybody
in the
knew the
box
ending
office
of the
first
movie.
time.
Right.
Well,
So again, they've done statistics on this, which is basically, part of the reason why Titanic has the numbers that it has in the box office is repeat viewing.
Yes.
Like to exactly
Yes.
what you just said.
Yes.
It's like people saw that movie 3 or 4 times.
yeah, I know. There were old ladies watching it like 10 times, 20 times.
Because each time they're going like, why the hell throw the diamond off the back of the
Right.
boat?
And why can't that be me? Leonardo, please.
Or they were
Lord.
bringing friends with them to see it. Right?
And they're all saying like, there's totally enough room for Leo to be on the wood at the same
big
time.
door.
Supposedly
He
he's
could've fit on
coming
that
out with
door.
like actual video, like an actual documentary on that he would not have fit on there. Did you hear about this?
Why would he fucking waste
Because
his
there's so
time?
many
James
people.
Cameron is?
Yes, James Cameron is coming out with it
Okay,
because so many people are.
This is
waste?
someone that has so much time on his hands.
Oh, and
that
so much
he's-
money. Jesus Christ.
What a waste of time.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Marketing
Marketing.
and horror movies.
But that's where I think horror movies have that. That I guess that kind of just goes along with horror movies in general. They have to blow their wad in that first weekend because if they
I
don't,
agree.
they might not get seen.
They mark themselves by the opening weekend.
Yes.
They gauge their production by the opening weekend.
Like
numbers.
this is going to sound bad, but some of the Scream movies not so good. But yet there's 6 of them, right?
Well, yes, but the thing is with that now we're talking sequels, horror movie sequels. A lot of the Friday the 13th
Do you think there's going to be a
ones-
Skinamarink 2?
No.
I hope not.
Friday the 13th, because people I think will realize this is an Emperor's New Clothes kind of shit.
Right.
This is not worth the
Which I
hype
finally know
everybody's
what that
talking
means
about.
now.
Look it up, people.
It's one of those things that people will realize, you're just got blowing smoke up my ass. You don't like it. You're just pretending you like it so you think you're cool or you want to stay
See, but
cool
that's
and
where
be
we
cool.
come in. We'll watch it for people.
But that's just it. We can tell them not to watch it because it's stupid and it's all hype. But somebody's going to go, oh no, that thing was a masterpiece. It wasn't a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece of marketing.
Right.
It's not a
Right.
masterpiece.
And I'm
Somebody's
sorry,
ego.
I don't care whether you're in a movie theater and you heard perfect sound or the lack of sound.
Was it
And-
Dolby Atmos?
You
Probably not.
know.
Probably not. Right. So
Well, actually, to be honest, I think that would be ridiculous if it was Dolby Atmos and the quality of the film that we actually saw was so bad.
oh yeah, that's true. That is true.
It's like, to me, if it was stereo, I'd be like greatly surprised.
I was very let down by that film.
The only reason they even did it in that style was to make it more annoying than just looking at the corner of a room.
Now
They tried to play up that whole creepy vibe.
Well,
I'm going to bring up a movie that you guys
off.
probably have seen. Have you seen Yule Log?
What's that?
Of course.
I love
That did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It started off focusing only on one spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, after the first 10
Is
minutes,
this going to be the whole movie?
Is this
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
there? And I read a little bit about it, and they basically said the director-writer said, yeah, I was going to do that, but then I kind of panned out, and then I started to go.
Because he could do more.
Yeah, exactly that. But that's what I mean. Like, you thought, holy shit, is this going to literally be a Yule Log the whole fucking time? But then when he pans out, that helped. You know, that made the movie for me.
Yule Log, because they did that little pan out, became such a bigger movie because they could do the whole guy in the fireplace, and you got more characters, and they did the whole transition of the past with the present and the future, kind of, you know. I mean, it was.
But one of the things that shows, one of the things that generally, I think we all love about horror movies is you can have a horror movie that has a very low budget that is still incredibly watchable.
Yes.
Yes. Because kind of the concepts and the conceits of what makes a good horror movie doesn't need CGI, doesn't need
Blair Witch Project was $60,000. This was 15. You know, and
it shows.
But now
both of them.
But I feel like it was. I guess it was worth more in the $60,000 film because they were outside.
It was good.
Yes, it was awesome. But you know, I'll go down swinging with them. Blair Witch is in my top 10 for sure. But
come on,
yeah, it is in my top
Logan,
10.
I had
top
respect
10?
for you.
Really?
Yes, because I had a physical reaction to the movie.
But
if I didn't have
12.
a physical, I was no. I was.
I had a physical
17.
reaction to
17.
COVID. I still wouldn't want it again.
But I rarely get that feeling, and that's why that's stuck in my head.
Okay. One movie that scared the shit out of you. Go. Or first movie, maybe, to scare the shit out of you.
Movie to scare the shit out of me? I think it's called 6 to Midnight? Or 10 to Midnight? It's a Charles Bronson movie. And
I said horror movie.
I know. This is technically a horror movie. It's about a serial killer.
Okay.
Now, you got to remember, I'm like 5, 6 years old when I saw this.
Okay.
My parents were watching it.
That's minus.
And I snuck out and I saw them watching it. And I came in when there's a man naked with blood all over him running down the street.
Okay.
And he was apparently a serial killer that the way that he didn't leave evidence was he would strip naked and kill the person.
Very Manhunter.
So that
I was
scared.
just gonna say that. That's
now
a
that scared
Manhunter
the shit
thing.
out of me because I'm thinking, why was the guy naked? Like I'm 6 years old.
No
like,
evidence.
I wasn't thinking about it's these people or anything like that. It was just more like
back to Serbian.
Which there you go.
You mean Siberian film?
Siberian film.
Right.
Sorry.
But yeah, it was more one of those films where and that stuck in my head to this day. And I went and watched the movie. And granted, it's not scary. It's not that, but it makes you wonder, like, what the hell? Like, what if a serial killer did that? You know, and you know, obviously you got things like what's his name? Drawing a total blank. Serial killer that kills serial killers.
Serial killer. Dexter.
Dexter. You got Dexter where he's wearing plastic and everything. But it's kind of along those same lines. As that scared me when I was a kid. That was the first movie that I was like, oh man, like I felt a reaction of like, you know, and it was more, you know, like inquisitive, like, oh, okay, well, why? Like, it wasn't so much like, oh, there's a naked guy running on the street. It was just like, why? Why did he kill people that way? And then, you know, obviously as I grew up, and then, you know, a few years after that is when I eventually saw Halloween, which that literally scared the shit out of me because it was the fact that a man you thought was dead wasn't, right? You know,
sure,
he was just that
killer.
Psychotic that 6 bullets ain't gonna kill him, right? That's the type of stuff that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Now, what about you?
So,
and then I'm talking, to me, scary is physical reaction.
He's not done.
Well,
okay.
I'm with you. It's so like the movie that I go back to over and over and over again, which people are asking in our store, Ghoulish Morals, 228 West Main Street,
St. Charles, Illinois.
Sorry, keep forgetting that part. People ask me what's my favorite scary movie, and I will always say Silence of the Lambs. And I was older when I saw that movie. I came out in like 86,
I believe,
86, 87. And I'd clearly watched horror movies before that, but that was the first movie that just really affected me.
Okay.
And
was it an uneasy feeling or was it terror? Was it actual?
Really, I would say dread.
Yeah, it was the whole scene towards the very, very end, in darkness, where James Gunn has the Jamie Gunn has the night vision glasses on.
That was so
and just that whole part where he's like coming like right up to her face. And she's like
first movie to ever do that.
Oh my God, like that was. There was just something about that.
Sure.
But is that the first movie that ever terrified you?
I truly think so. So like it's weird. I was trying to think when the question was asked, I was like, oh my God, it's going to come to me next.
No pressure.
Pressure's on. Right.
And so there was a movie from like 1960s, 1970s called Black Widow.
Okay.
That was
the 1967 Black Widow.
Yeah,
Black Widow.
I have not actually seen it.
And I remember watching that movie when I was like
early 60s, actually
12 or 13.
Yeah.
And again, just at that age, that just like scaring the crap out of me.
Sure.
And in very much the same way, I haven't watched it since, so I can't say whether or not it would still scare me. But it's like, there's many movies that I remember watching at that age where, we've talked about this before, where it's like I've shown it to my kids now that like, oh my God, this is a great movie. And you watch and you go, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they give you that groan like, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I don't know whether I'd have that same feeling from watching that movie again now. But like I remember that as, again, just my brain remembering that there was something scary about that.
It doesn't matter if you get scared at it now. The point is, it was the first one that scared you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even like, and to your point about other people watching that movie and going like, well, this is nothing. I loved Escape from New York. That wasn't the first one to scare me or anything, but I loved Escape from New York, right?
Yeah.
And when I saw it when it first came out in the theaters and all that, it was just mind-boggling. The horrors of what New York became, and the guy with the Cadillac with chandeliers on the front.
That was the best.
The impractical stuff, and it was like
Cabby.
It was so badass. You're like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is the greatest film ever. Literally about 2 weeks ago, it came on Warplex, and I said, Amy, let's watch Escape from New York. You'll love it. It's crazy. And Amy had never seen it before.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what I thought.
Yeah.
We watched it, and she's like, hon, I'm sure this was very impactful when you first saw it in the 80s, but it wasn't that great. And I watched it with her, and I was like, yeah, but it was so good back then it was just...
Well, and people do that with Citizen Kane. They're like, it's the best movie of all time. And I remember watching it, when I was in college and going,
Oh.
I mean, it was still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I was like, wow, that's a good movie. But I go, all time? Really?
Yeah, of all time, because
the first
back
response,
then,
though,
maybe,
is always, if you lived during that time frame, it would have been...
So listen, in film school, I don't mean jumping in. We had a whole class on that movie in film school just because everybody, the greatest movie of all time. Yep. A whole fucking class on that movie. We also had a whole class that was on Magnificent Seven.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And it was right. I just saw it came on Plex too recently. But there's certain movies
you mean the one with Chris Pratt? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
There's certain movies
Sadly, I haven't seen it.
What was the other one? Why can't I think of it now? The Falcon, not the Falcon.
Maltese Falcon?
Maltese Falcon.
Yes.
Maltese Falcon had its own...
Sure.
It was like the greatest movie ever made. And Chinatown. Remember Chinatown?
Yes. Yep.
Which was also billed as one of the greatest movies. And these are all fantastic movies because they follow a certain formula, and that's what we learned in classes, the formula that they followed, and they broke it down into the steps of that formula.
Now, does that degrade the movie, do you think?
What do you mean degraded?
Like, because now you know the formula. You didn't know the formula when you first saw it.
No.
Not after you see it, but when you see movies beyond that then.
Oh, I can see the formula.
Okay.
But that doesn't just take from the movie because everybody interprets the formula differently. In other words, because there's certain steps in the formula, it can be gotten different ways. Mm-hmm. But the point is there's only 7 great plots. There's only 7 plots ever. In fact, it's arguable that there's only 3 plots. But they say there's only 7 plots. Every movie fits into one of those 7
plots. Would you call that the Magnificent Seven?
They do not. Wow. But you can see those in movies. It helps you critique the movie as far as like, well, they followed the formula to a T. Or, oh, look, they varied from the formula, but they got to the same point. It's a game, right? But it's fun to interpret that kind of stuff.
So now that you've pussyfooted around it, what is your scary movie?
Right. I honestly,
was trying to. You turned into a politician there. I'm going to a long-winded answer here. Anyway.
I do get this question a lot. Even so, mainly when I was working here at Ghoulish Mortals for a few days a while back, and that is the question. Everybody comes in because it's a horror store.
Right. Yep.
Everybody comes in. What's your favorite movie? What's the movie that scared you the most? It's not that it scared me the most now, but at the time, again, I was under 10, let's say, and Svengoolie, which the original Svengoolie, and then there was Son of Svengoolie, and Son of Svengoolie was just getting off on his show. He was just starting off, and he would show old movies, reruns of old movies, and there was one called The Crawling Hand.
Absolutely.
Okay. The Crawling Hand was an old, late 50s, early 60s movie about an astronaut who was in space, got a space disease, and wanted to come back home. They said, no, you got a space disease. We can't let you come back home. Because I'm coming home anyway. They said, well, then we're going to blow you up. And they blew him up out in space. But because he exploded on his way back into our atmosphere, his hand made it through the atmosphere and landed. Because it was a space disease, his hand was alive and went around and killed everybody that told him that he couldn't come back to Earth and all that stuff like that. That scared the shit out of me.
Okay.
I was a kid.
Yep.
It scared the shit out of me. But the point is of that whole movie is all night I did not sleep. I was tossing and turning. I had nightmares. I was scared to death. And when morning came around and I kind of woke up, I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I want more of that.
Yep.
It was an adrenaline rush. It was excitement. It was like, holy fuck, I couldn't believe I felt this way. And I wanted to see more and more horror movies just so I could feel that way again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're if you want to look at it that way, we're drug addicts, right? We're looking for that next high.
Absolutely.
We were hoping for Skinamarink.
Right. Well, and I think that's what like Eli Roth did with Hostel. In other words,
great movie.
It's like
movie.
The first one.
The second one.
I don't even think I saw the second one.
The first one was excellent because it was original.
Yeah.
And to the point we're saying, it's like it took you in a direction that you kind of you saw what was happening and you go, okay, well, this is obviously what's going to happen next, and then you just went just that little bit further. And I thought the first one was excellent. Again, the second one, very much in the same way as the Saw movies. I think the first Saw movie was like phenomenal.
Yes. Honestly, they should have stopped there. Because that payoff at the end was so choice.
Because the point is, it's like, and I get that at the end of the day, it costs money to produce movies, and ultimately, just like we own a horror store, Ghoulish Mortals, 228 West Main Street,
St. Charles, Illinois.
We're in it to make money.
Right.
But the point is, they took in the sequels, they took all of the things that made the first movie in Saw and in Hostel.
Yes.
And they made it so that the second movie and subsequent movies were just all about that.
Yes, because the concept was still good.
Right. Yeah.
The concept was still good. How far would you go to save your own life?
Right.
Or others' lives? How far would you go? And that was good to translate. And the second movie was good. Third movie I thought was okay, and it started to kind of trail off after that. But the point is that first one, stands apart from all those.
Absolutely.
Because it's not a torture movie.
No.
It's literally, you're in this room.
There is not nearly as much torture in that first one
No.
compared to the ones
There's
after
really
that.
one
That's
fucking
the
scene.
point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
But the simple fact that you've got choices now, and they do these choices and make and you didn't realize, oh my God, the key went down the drain.
Right.
You know what I mean? And those little things that are like, well, now what? Now they're fucked. And then at the end, it didn't even matter because the guy was alive in the middle of the room. And
Right.
stood
That
up.
reveal.
Shit out of it.
That
oh my God.
was one of the best reveals
Yes.
ever.
And that was one of these movies where it's like, you know, I remember I was in a movie theater seeing it.
Yep.
The sound of the guy lifting his,
And the
his
music
body off.
too that was playing with it.
Like,
Yeah.
just
the sticky.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh my God, the sound of the blood was
Oh.
was so good.
I just remember sitting there going, fuck.
Yeah.
yeah.
The whole time, my
you're like-
literal just like.
And it was done. It was almost not,
To quote Mrs. Delport, the whole time. But yeah.
But it was the whole thing. It was like, you know, almost done in slow motion.
Yes.
Where it's
Right,
like,
because
you know,
he's getting
yeah.
up and he's.
he knew he had the power. Where it's like he didn't need to get up like quickly and
Yeah.
No.
and like, you know, attack someone. It was like he had the power. It's like he just got up and it's like, yeah, hey fuckers, we've been listening to you. I've been listening to you this entire time.
Yep.
I want to play a game.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know,
It just.
and I think it's and I get the fact that we go totally off topic for this podcast, but it's like, you know, I get the fact that in the same way that nothing will be as good as the original Star Wars, even though like subjectively I can look back and certainly special effects wise I can.
Warwick's a big Star Wars fan.
Star Wars
She haven't
fan.
figured it out.
I don't think he likes it.
but so it's the same thing. It's like with Hostel and Saw. There's nothing is going to be as good as the original, and because it was original.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But
You know.
I see. That's where I wonder. Sort of like the alcohol that we drink. Is there a point where, you know, they make so many sequels, it becomes so watered down, pun intended.
Like the first movie, the first bourbon we had.
So
Yeah,
that you
that
get to
wasn't
that
really a
point
bourbon, I don't
where
think.
somebody's saying that's where the marketing comes in,
whiskey.
right? We're bringing it back, but that, you know, the marketing is, oh, hey, we've got this alcohol here. It's great. It tastes great, you know, because one person, like I've talked to people that love Malort, and I've got, you know, I've seen
Emperor's New Clothes.
a friend of a friend that literally finished a bottle off by himself, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with you, right? But that's how some people are with these movies. They're like, hey, you know, you like Skinamarink? What the fuck's wrong
That's,
with you?
you know what? But
You
that's
hated it?
why we're in this business. That's why we're
Correct.
doing this podcast, is because there are so many different opinions on one movie.
Correct.
Skinamarink is one of those movies that people are going to
It's
say
very
they love,
polarizing. Very.
even though they really don't get it.
Yep.
They're going to say they love it, and they say they understood it because they don't want to be the weird people
Right.
who don't get it. But
Right.
there was
So
very
like you
little.
mentioned earlier, the Emperor's New Clothes. They're just going along with the herd,
Absolutely.
right? Now that's where
They'll argue it,
my
but
hope
they
is that they don't make a Skinamarink 2, and that they don't go. He doesn't repeat, because he's already done Heck, and he's done Skinamarink, which is just basically an extended version of Heck. I'm hoping he brings something new to the table the next time. Now, is he going to be like M. Night Shyamalan, where he's got, you know, a few movies where he's got some that are great and some that are just completely missed?
You take that back right now, bitch. You keep M. Night Shyamalan's mouth name out of your fucking mouth.
Your mouth out of his name.
Do you like M. Night?
Every fucking thing he's done has been phenomenal.
Great. I almost
Everything?
agree.
Everything.
Including what was the one in the lift, in the elevator?
Oh,
Devil?
I have not
The
seen
Devil?
that.
Okay, so all right,
seen-
so some of them aren't as good as the rest, but they're still good.
Lady in the Lake.
Lady in the
I
Water.
love Lady in the Lake.
Thank you.
I
Boom.
love
Hey.
Lady in the Lake.
I like. So here's
That
the
was
thing with that
genius.
one. I'm going to try to change you on that.
By the way,
one.
what title are we going to put this podcast?
Just
There's no
BTS.
point-
That's all it is.
This
And
is
then we'll get like a whole bunch of
behind the
people that are looking for the boy band.
Yeah.
Well,
This is behind the scenes
Back to
to
marketing.
what we're
Yes.
doing.
See, there's
There
the
you go.
marketing.
See, we
There
started
you go.
talking about marketing in this episode.
Yeah. We are on, I don't know, I didn't see it. We're on like 35, 40 minutes
Yeah.
already on this.
By the way, why are you pointing at that?
Because that keeps
Because that
telling
comes
me.
up.
Oh,
It cuts
okay.
It has
across.
the 30
I
minutes,
can't
40
see it.
minutes.
I can look over there.
But yeah, I think that M. Night Shyamalan, like, he became pigeonholed, right? And then he came out with Lady in the Water, and there were so many people that panned it. That was horrible. That was horrible. And I'm like, but he literally explains that this was a bedtime story I told my kids.
It's a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale. It's not like his other movies. And some people were pissed because it didn't have a big twist at the end. And I'm like, Speaking of which, Knock at the Cabin.
I want to see it.
I want to see it.
I listened to
the audiobook, so now I'm ready for the movie.
Every one of M. Night Shyamalan's movies
Okay.
on DVD, just because.
I own them on Plex.
So here's my issue. Should I watch Devil? I never saw Devil.
All right, so Devil is one of those movies that it's you won't like it, but it's Warwick. But
I love Sixth Sense. I love the one. What was the movie where they kept jumping off the roofs?
Oh, you
jumping off the roof.
The Happening?
The Happening.
Oh, The Happenings. I love that.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I thought
that was kind of iffy for me.
Come on.
I liked the premise. I loved the idea of it, but the ending was kind of.
So to me, the problem I had. Oh my God, we're going all over the place.
Totally.
So
you're following. You keep it.
If you want an actual review of these movies, let us know.
Let us know.
There you go.
Let us know.
And here's a perfect point, because this is not a horror movie.
All right.
So did you watch Phone Booth?
With Colin Farrell?
Yes.
Yes.
So Phone Booth was this like one person, like almost the entire movie is
in a phone booth.
Is set in a phone booth, and Kiefer Sutherland is the evil person that is basically like telling him.
He tells him, if you leave the phone booth, I'm gonna. It's almost like Speed, but stationary.
Right.
It sounds like a comedy.
But to be honest, it's like
Ted.
I love that movie, and it was just such this weird thing of, for such a, I don't know, there was something like limited characters.
What's your point?
It was good. The point being the fact that it's like, as opposed to the Devil, where all being set in the fucking elevator, it was so fucking boring.
No, I understand that point. I understand that point. The idea was claustrophobia, in my opinion, was claustrophobia, and therefore the story was more like being animals trapped in a cage. What are you going to do? How are you going to react? Because you got other people in there too. But I get it. It's a weird concept because it's so limiting. Right. It's boring because it's one room. The whole movie is practically one room.
But you could also go along those same lines and The Mist, right?
Mist was awesome.
I love The Mist because, yes, you're all stuck in one room technically.
That was so
good, one building.
But they don't. They venture out. They
try to. But that's where I feel like that was one of those movies where I did not think I was going to like it, and by the end of that movie, I was like, "Holy shit!"
The Mist is one of the endings that fucked me up.
Oh yeah.
That was
hard.
Messed up ending, man.
Yeah.
Just the whole
Yeah.
Watch Mist.
Yeah. I actually, I that was one. Now, and I haven't finished. I've got the book. I haven't finished it, but supposedly that's different than the book. That ending was not in the book.
Oh no, that's true. That's true. In fact, they changed the ending purposely. Well, they did that in a lot of times.
That was Darabont, right? Frank Darabont?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They did a lot of those.
Walking Dead.
They did a lot of those
Hopefully you've
different
seen
endings
Dead,
just
right?
because the people in the book would expect the ending and they didn't want them to know the ending. They did a lot with Stephen King books. They changed the ending too.
That was another one we're going.
But M. Night Shyamalan, one of the best movies he ever did, The Village. Oh, come on!
So,
The Village!
No. I'm only heavy sighing.
Help me out.
I'm only heavy sighing because
both these guys. The Village was awesome.
Both myself and my wife kind of predicted the ending. Now, that was where I got a little upset because then I started to get into the whole predicting what he was going to do. I should have just gone to the movie, watching the movie. I probably would have liked it more. I still liked it.
Just to enjoy the movie.
Correct. But, at one point my wife pointed out that, she mentioned an apartment. During the movie, which I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even pick up on that. But
that's not a big deal. There were apartments back in those days too.
We're talking like colonial times. Did you
call
it an apartment?
Well, it wasn't. Well, yeah, no, actually.
Did you? Okay, so
New York City was a thing back in cowboy days. Did you ever watch
New York
1883?
Gangs of New York.
Or 1923? There's apartments in 1923.
Make up days.
Yeah. But yeah, so to me though, that's maybe we should do an entire episode on just like shocking endings to movies and stuff. Because The Mist, that one.
That fucked me up for a while.
Man,
that fucked me up for a while.
Yeah.
Because it's not expected.
Correct.
and it involved a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and it involved the whole thing. Like after everybody,
No, just
I don't. All right, after everybody kills themselves in the car except the one guy, and then just before he kills himself, the army comes and saves everybody. It's like, if we would have waited 5 minutes longer.
No, and that's one thing. I mean, we should probably do an entire episode on that because I honestly didn't understand why they didn't wait. They weren't being attacked by anything
Because they thought the world was
Right,
lost.
right.
But that's the thing. Like, if there
over.
was stuff hitting the windows and like, fuck, we got to end this. That to me would have made more sense. Like,
But
but they're just
what-
sitting there like, oh, the car died. Well, we can't get out of the car. But there's nothing attacking us. But
Because then it's just
You know?
why drag your existence out and torture yourself through all this now? The world's not getting any better. There's creatures all around the place. We're not getting out of this car.
nobody's
We're trapped
attacking
here. Do we starve to death or just stop it? End ourselves out.
or
Right, but
see,
I'm between you guys.
I'm just trying to-
I mean, literally.
literally.
But I mean, because I get the point. The point is it's like at the point that it ended.
So just
You didn't-
we should
you-
probably let people know this is like normally. This is why we started the podcast is because this is what our
This is
normal
probably a good point
Yes,
to
we
bring
do.
up.
Like, has that
point
said
to bring up.
how long we're
I
at?
don't know. We're like
I haven't seen it lately. I should have started the timer.
But yeah, but I mean, you're right. I mean, it is one of these things where you go, like, at what point do you? There has to be. You have to like. There has to be hope. I guess.
Right.
You know, and
they
so-
lost all hope.
Well, and to bring it back to Skinamarink, there was
I
no
thought so.
there was
That's no
no
point.
hope in that movie, right? There was no hope in that
There's
entire
no
movie.
fucking
No,
story in
I
that
Because
movie.
agree with that.
by
I
the
disagree.
whole point was just that thing was torturing the kid the whole time. That's all it was. It's like, hey,
Wait
you
a
got
minute. Are we
toys?
still talking-
about Skinamarink. I'm moving back to
Oh,
Skinamarink.
I thought we were talking the fog still.
No. So I brought it back to Skinamarink
mist,
because
I mean,
yeah,
not fog,
Skinamarink.
Yes, the
there-
fog. Now the
Fog
fog's the
was a
movie.
great movie.
Yeah, the
too.
fog.
Sorry,
There you go.
people.
And
Great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack.
the fog, the mist.
Yep.
But yeah, to bring it back to Skinamarink, yeah, we've got that movie had no hope. There was no hope. It wasn't. Oh, hey, eventually this
But-
kid's gonna get out.
but-
Which
But the kids weren't
Oh my
even
God.
scared.
That's the point.
You
The point is
know?
that like, you can't say that there's no hope when the characters in the movie show
feel any jeopardy.
show no,
There's no jeopardy.
yeah, exactly no feeling that there isn't any hope.
well, so okay, to defend the movie, which is sad that I'm actually doing this.
I'm a little
I
upset that
felt
you're doing
like
it too, but
I felt like the kid Kevin was friends with the ghost, right? Because he comes out.
I thought it was a demon.
A
not
demon,
ghost.
whatever you want to call it.
All right.
Demon, because at the beginning of the movie, he comes out, why are you being quiet? Like, you know, and so like he trusts whatever that thing's telling him to do, right? Like to me, that was why he was not scared, but the girl was scared. The parents were scared. You know, like that could have been another reason why he tried
The
to.
parents weren't scared. The girl was.
The parents were. I think the parents were just a figment of their.
That's the whole thing.
Right,
I
like
don't
nobody
think
was
I don't think
scared.
the parents like what. Either way around, either the parents were a figment of the kids' imagination, or the other way around, the kids were a figment of the parents' imagination. Because I don't think the parents were there. The thing I didn't get again towards the end is when they're like, "What's your name?"
Yeah.
It's like you've been communicating with this kid the entire movie.
True.
He doesn't know his name.
You don't know his
Yeah.
name.
He can do anything.
It would have been funny if he said Sue. Like a boy
Right.
named Sue.
Right. I can do
Okay.
anything.
Is
I can
Johnny
make
Cash?
doors appear,
Yes.
windows appear, but
Yeah.
I can't. I didn't catch
What's your name? Yeah. And you
Yeah.
are.
Honestly, that was one of those things that was more hype than it was possibly ever going to work.
Yeah.
This is
That
gonna
guy
be
kinda
the-
brought that back there.
By the way, this is going to be the weirdest title for what,
You know what?
we come
Behind
up
the
with for this-
scenes,
for this movie.
All right.
whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
We're gonna call it.
You know what? Here's what.
Tangent episode 1.
Here's what we call
Tangent.
it. BTS
Episode 2.
finishing the bottle.
Oh, finishing the bottle.
You guys have to drive home.
Bazinga.
At least my wife will
You're gonna
drive.
lift an empty glass here. All right, there you go.
There you go.
All right, well, I'll stop it now, but let us know if you like that.
If you want more of this stuff
better.
of our ramblings, let us know.
All right.